Good on, my friends. I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table. And hey, let's look at Cycle 10 for A Game Not Traveled, or my would-be Interstellar Frontiers game system, and House Lost Cause. That's LOS Cause, right? Let's come up with a house name, right? And so we were looking at the beginning is the Fairwind event roll, and we will roll and to see which one of the three charts we get first, and that's 43, which would be chart 2, and 71 for chart 2. Kind of fun and adventure. It's a nothing. I'll go with that. Nothing wrong with that. And so we have our first ship traffic roll. And we'll see what we get on that one. So page 51. All right. I don't know. My wife gave me these things, so I like to use them. How long these things will stick on the pages and stay there, I don't. But you know what? Anything, any port in a storm, right? So, okay, and we will see if we have, or this is a normal chart or a guild traffic roll chart. So, 56. I get a lot of guild traffic. What's up with that, right? I have mixed opinions on it. I mean, in essence, the two charts are not really any different from each other, so it doesn't really matter. It's just, it seems to me there's a lot more going on here. So 88, and 88 would be a blank guild worship, right? Oh, great. I wonder if they're looking for their missing ship or their damaged ship that I just bought. But that would be questionable. And it says, roll hall class, don't forget to apply your noble status modifier. So that's something we want to do at a different point. We also have an opportunity to figure out just what and who that is, because I have a, once again, I have a chart. There are charts, my friends, and then there are charts. So page 76 is the known guild chart. So in order to make the game easier for the average player who's just starting, I wanted to include options and opportunities when I could. So in this case, the known guild chart, which is just a list of possible guilds that came up in the playtesting stages when my friends and I were going through this. And then there's some introductions within it also would be the possibility of in completely new ones that you would then be up to you to come up with your own. So in this case, it says rolling a new guild, and this gives us the types. So just for fun, we'll roll and see what we got here. And of course, 90, it would have to be freaking huge, a galactic, multi-quadrant, plutocrat-led guild. Great. So this is a galactic guild. You know, I don't know, sans, I don't know, galactic PepsiCo or something like that. I mean, I'm just something like that, all right? Great. And then we will roll down here on this thing here and see what we get here. So 66 is a new guild. Great. So a new guild that is not that I have to come up with all the name for, if nothing else. So, and I will not fiddle with that today, but it's interesting to know. Now, the ship might be just passing through. It may not matter. It may not matter at all. If then nothing else, it will buy some consumables, fuel, water, food, and oxygen, assuming I have some to sell. And pretty much that's the extent of it. Although it could be interrelated to other stuff, and that would be whether or not I want to go down that rabbit hole or not. And I would do a separate event or a separate little video where I try to flush out what this guild is and what their goal is, and of course, are they involved with the next the previous guild stories that have occurred. So I mean, we may not want to go down that rabbit hole, and we don't by no means must you do anything you don't want to do. I mean, as long as you abide by the basic concepts and rules, you're not, quote, cheating. So we have two ship traffic rolls because this is the capital of the house. And so we will do another one, and once again, 50-50, it's guild or it's, because I could just flip a quarter, I could just flip, odd or even. So 66, which makes it a blasted guild ship again. Ah, jeez. See, so on the regular ship traffic roll, they have increased chances of getting things like just normal independent merchants and stuff like that that are doing business, as opposed to all this being guild related stuff, which means there's a lot of guild traffic going on in this fringe corner of the settled space of the Galactic Imperium that apparently far more than what I suspected. So I'm really thinking I've been my house lord has been lured into coming out here, or perhaps somehow the house is connected to some powerful guilds who induced them to send this expedition out here just for the sole purpose of helping settle yet another corner of the cosmos in order for them to get a. Are you effing me? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great. Okay. Yeah. Cruise liner. Cruise liner. No, I suppose it could be related to that cruise, that guild warship that's patrolling, or maybe it's escorting the cruise liner, because this is a frontier. So, cruise liner arrives on a Class 9 hull. That's a big sucker. That specifies how big it is. It'll stay in orbit, use in shuttles. The Galactic News Burst Network, or the GNBN, sponsored venue on board that challenges any local teams or groups to competition. The ship lingers 2 to 4 cycles, adding up 2 additional ship traffic rolls to the planet staying flock to enjoy the event. Players note the roll only once during the cruiser liner's stay for debarking passengers and tech. So we will have to come back and revisit that. But more importantly, it just gave me 2 more ship traffic rolls as other ships are flocking in its. Are you freaking kidding me? Jeez. Yeah, alright, it is what it is, so we will roll, and then we'll see what we get here. So 36 finally on the normal chart, and 36 extra ship traffic. 36, and 36 would be, well, I'm afraid to hold my breath and see what. Alright, just a normal merchant ship arrives. So it says, roll haul, don't, at the roll haul, don't forget to include your noble status modifier, which means it'll be a moderately small freighter, which is good because God knows I got enough of these damn things and I don't need yet no more. So hopefully it's buying and selling some stuff I can use. Now the upside thing about this cruise liner is potentially carrying 4,000 to 5,000 passengers on board. They're not all going to come down to the colony because that would overwhelm my colony and all but increase the temporary the transient population by 50% or 100%. But they do generate revenue. These cruise liners, they linger for a couple cycles. The people go on sightseeing tours and come down and muck with the local markets and slum with the provincials and what have you, and they generate some necessary revenue for the house through that. And that's, like I said, that's an event or a separate video for me to do. I have some. This coming week is going to be a pain in my ass. Monday and Friday is going to be really busy. And then the Wednesday through Thursday, my work truck has to go to a shop to get some issues. There's something causing it to lose air pressure. So when you park overnight, the air brakes, the airbags, everything depletes, and it shouldn't do that. So we're taking it to a shop dropping it off Monday evening, and they asked to have it for 2 or 3 days. So I just set it up for 3 days. So I'm thinking probably Tuesday morning I'm going to do some more videos for this particular, because I actually got a nice stack of BattleTech stuff done today. So I'm doing the opening for cycle 10, and then I can do some secondary stuff for the cycle probably on Tuesday morning. Just something to do. All right. Anyway, that leaves us with the other extra ship traffic roll, and we shall see what that is. Jeez, cruise liners. I don't know. I prefer cruise liners to come later when you've had some stuff to establish. Because right now I have no tourist traps established. I have no resorts established. No real places for these people to go. So the monetary income that I could have generated from this thing coming, in cycle 20 or 30 or something is much less than, or much greater than it would be now. But there's is what it is. The upside to this cruise liner is that there's a possibility, and you roll once to see if it debarks any long-term passengers. So what it means by that is potentially carrying some new colonists for my planet. It might only be a few dozen, but among them might be some tech specialists, some people with, or personalities, which can open yet other doors. And we will do, like I said, I'll have to do a video on that and go from there. So let's say 60, which of course is back in the guild chart rolls. There you go. Freaking, all right, lots of guild traffic going on around here. Lots of guild stuff, right? So let's see. And 97. Yeah. 97. What is 97 going to be? Please be nothing horrible. Oh, roll on the terrorist chart. Terrorists. Alright, so damn cruise liner shows up and brings terrorists with it. Are you effing me? Yeah, we have terrorists, my friends, and there are freaking charts for that. So just for shits and giggles, we are going to go take a look and see just what the hell we got. Terrorist chart 236, 238. So terrorists fall under the opposing forces chapter, or Op4 chapter, which is quite extensive, of course, and has its own challenges and fun. So the terrorist chart. All right. Because that involves me, having an event. Hopefully it's not horribly catastrophic, and then going and dealing with it, and then figuring out how I'm going to, because I have a terrorist movement just so we go. So here is, all right, I'm going to do a video on it now. Terrorist movements, example terrorist groups, terrorist movements chart. Then when we mean by movement, we don't mean by movement as in moving from one side of the room to the other. We're talking organization and so on. So for as long as humanity has been building civilizations, there have been individuals and groups that seem bent on pulling them apart. Some protest the methods used to bring progress and economic growth. Others rail at the political systems required for civilization to function. Some merely revel in creating chaos and dissent wherever possible. In a few cases, they are the motivators of change and defenders for those who exist at the mercy of the very civilization that exploits them. That said, terrorists can come in many varieties and strengths. We cannot cover them all, but we will touch on the more common organizations seen in settled space, etc. And then we got a couple example groups like the Murder, Scarlet Justice, the Harmony Society, the Knights of Cosmic Unity. So, and then we break it down to get a more how big it is and so on and so forth. Then we have credits, resources available for those movements, how much resources that can be allotted to them, to give you an idea of what they, as the quote game master side of things, what that terrorist organization in your region has to work with. And then we'll actually go by the chart to see what the hell they're going to do. So we roll the D100 and 94. Jesus. 94. Local Platinum complains to House about frequent harassment by a group of local toughs. An investigation turns up evidence the tough gang is really a blank cover. Oh, for Pete's sake. Okay, so at the very bare bones, toughs are street gangs. And I use the term loosely street games because they can cover a gamut of different scenarios and ecologies and environments and whatever. So you could have a bunch of swamp bandits be considered a tough. They're generally punks and low grade morons and idiots that are just being stupid or doing things for personal gain or just to be harassing problems. So in this case, we have potential for further problems, which would need investigation. So Fred Dodge might find himself in another scenario where he has to chase down and figure out just who these guys are, what they're doing, and potentially either stop them, put them down, or find a way for the house to exploit them for its own personal gain. There's the limits are what your imagination are. So where is that? What is that? 94. Okay. So I'm going to put down number 94. That's why I know if I got to go back and look at the details. Platinum complains of harassment. And of course, I'll have to roll to see which platinum it is at some point. So this is another video to itself of local tuffs. Who are covered with unknown movement. Yeah. See just how this crazy crap just rolls in and rolls down and goes up and goes down, and it just never ceases. The fun never stops. That's just the way we want to roll. Let's take a look at and we'll save all that stuff for cleaning or tidying up the end of the cycle and get my stuff facing. Is this? I get everything upside down and backwards for Pete's sake. Okay. So we know there's that, and we want to go to where we at next. Okay, so I'll need to add yet more ship traffic rolls, and I'll have to see about the ones that ship traffic tags I got here because they've already done their business. The odds are probably good that they're moving on down the road and go from there. So first things first, our planetary exploration or planetary growth and other modifiers I need to deal with. And so we are going to go and grab my calculator. And this stuff just compounds. So population growth is going to be a random one. We don't have a D3, so we just ignore the 4. And so we go a D2. So 0. Where are you at? 0 to 1 times current population 651 equals 22 new people. So 22 people have been born or came out of the woodwork from my colony. This would not include the people that's potentially could be coming down off of that cruise liner. So 51, 72, which is not a bad thing. And we need to do she. All right, so I got that part. And I'll put this back in here. I probably didn't have to pull it all the way out of the sleeve. And MR for planet. So we got oxygen, and we're getting to 2D roll. So 8 and 1 is 9. 02. 8 and 5 is 13. NP. 6 and 5 is 11. AR. There's another 13. MU. Yeah. 4 and 0, so that'd be 14. Remember 0 being a 10. CME. And 68 in IR. all stuff that will add to my exchange and bring my feed some of my negatives and bring up my positive surpluses higher so I can generate more revenue off of it, which is what we want to do. I still have my shuttle sitting here idling. We're not doing anything with it just yet. We know this is empty space, and okay, so that was an empty space. Camari just missed blowing itself up going through a ship or bouncing off of a blasted pulsar, so we are not going anywhere near that again. And I'm going to highlight it. So next on the crazy channel, it is what hazard will the Scout Camari run into again? Blow itself up yet? We are going to send Camari to yet another unexplored light year next to the Pulsar. We will go to GG 14 in yeah. All right, so always only so much room on these tables for so much stuff. So exploring new space, new system exploration, page 6. All right. Alright, so we want this thing again. Bear with me, folks. Yeah, let's see, send right there. And we'll stick it on. Alright, so we're coming into a system we've never been to before. We're going to roll our dice, and we have 76. We have a sun with 2 breathable planets. Hey, what do you know? Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so we are now at a sun. G42. These classifications actually meant something. I did a little research on that. Star luminosity, star size, star age, etc. And it's based off an astronomical crap. So a G class 4 star with a class 2 luminosity, I think, rolled 2 breathable planets. So we have a star 2 breathable planets. So that means, in theory, the ship jumps out, and by default, I can say that it arrived in orbit around one of those 2 planets, which means I'll need to do a system explorer, or I'll have to go into a little more depth on that one, which I'm not going to do it immediately, but we are going to see if I can find. Oh, dude. Okay, just as I want the chart. All right. Nothing like. All right, so we now reduce our fuel and our supplies by 2, so now we are down. So ship is down to 6, and I gotta adjust its ranking at some point because the rankings bring its skill ranking up because it's an earning. Just going through that big honking hazard it did last cycle, plus some of the other stuff it's already done, is introduced it to having some extra perks. So we want to check that stuff out, and so that brings us to the Jankuro, which would be my other scout ship, and I'm going to have it bounce into yet another solar system, because keep in mind, the whole point here is not only to understand more of what's going on around my region, but is to find resources for my mining ships to acquire. So we need to, so let's see, we want to know all this stuff. Jankuro. And we're going to send it to the opposite direction. We will send it to GG 14P. And we will go and roll, since we got that chart over there, just deal with it. 75. And nothing. So this is empty space, nothing space. Which is not really desirable, but not terribly horrible, because it didn't just, I didn't run into something that's going to wreck my scout ship. It also clears up yet another. So on this lane, on this plane of the galactic, on this galactic plane, I have 2 more light years, one above and one below Fairwind, or one north and one south, galactic north, galactic south of Fairwind, to explore. And then at that point, I would transition up a plane and begin exploring the next plane above the system or below the plane. And so eventually to get myself a proverbial cube or tiny sphere, how you want to look at it, of the space within one jump, 1 light year of my colony, and then work out from there. Or you could just randomly jump around based on the range of the show, because my scouts and mining ships could reach anything within this, more or less within this area. So turns out to be nothing, which is not necessarily a horrible thing, right? And then we have the sloop, and the sloop also went to a system. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to send, the sloop still has enough fuel and food to do a more jump, and then it's going to have to return for resupplies. So we will put terrace, and we will send them to GG 13 O and see what happens. So here we go. 31 and 31. Back up here we were supposed to be. Damn it. Is a M11 moon or planet with an M11 and particular space. So it entered an empty section of the system. So that doesn't mean that there's not planets here. It's just nothing was here in that particular 10% slice. So I would then set up a location chart for that scenario and go from there, because the system would need to be further explored. It would also, like I said, that would have to be one of my other ships, or this one would have to return, because it consumes 2 tons of fuel per jump, and which means it consumes far more. It consumes more fuel than it does oxygen, water, food. So for the crew, because the ship's design requires more jump drives, and the jump drives each accumulate more fuel consumption. So once that happens, it has to go back and get resupplied, and then I can resend it back forward, or sending out on a different mission if that's my choice. So what we're looking at now is basically my 2 mining ships, which I gotta find. One of the things I don't like about these binders is because if you the damn sleeves have a habit of popping out of them when you don't expect them to, or when they shouldn't. It's just like they somehow get a gap that they can just magically just jump out of and cause a problem. So we'll go back here and we look at our mining ships, and our mining ship here, reduce its supplies, fuel, 10, 4, and it's going to mine more oxygen, and 8 tons of oxygen, which brings us to 16. And its capacity is 100, so we have to keep monitoring how much is on board. And since there's only a handful of things here, oxygen, water, and then cobalt, I think, CO, right? So we'll a whole whopping 1 ton there. So that brings us to 26, 16, all right, so 10, and then there's already 16 tons of otter, so let's get another roll. Geez, got a roll of 1. So, no, that's 10, so there's 11. So currently I have 26, 37 tons out of a 100-ton cargo bay, and potentially 6 more cycles worth of supplies. Write that in there correctly. And fuel for that. So I can probably tap and fuel up the ship and then send it back. And this is that Arctic moon of Fairwind that has a population on it, I believe. Is this the one, or is that the other planet? No, the swamp planet's got the population on it. Because I'm going to be doing I'm going to send a expedition. That's why I've been hanging on that shuttle, and I'm using my shuttle to have them go up here. And I'm going to send 2 Xeno Scouts from my Health and Sciences Ministry to observe this industrial culture to find out some information. I want to find out what genome they are. Are they human or are they something else? How xenophobic they are. Obviously, my agents are not just going to step into a community there and reveal themselves, because that would be foolhardy at best and suicidal at worst. They're going to go in, they're going to observe from a distance if possible. There's always the risk that they get caught doing so, and then we'll go from there if that happens. If not, we will try to get some more information. The more information I can gather on this planet, the better off I am. I want to find out ways to exploit it, and there are ways, and then there are ways. So I mean, it's a matter of what rabbit hole we choose to go down when we get to that particular point. At some point, I need to go ahead and color in the map itself too and get it fleshed out, because it kind of looks kind of droll without it. But I want to check the mining ship here, because it is mining, and then there's a much wider range of I suppose I better write them on the sheet too before I forget. There's a much wider range of mineral resources available on this planet, which is one of the reasons why it was worth risking my mining ship getting discovered and having to deal with a first encounter scenario with a kind of primitive society, and some are more primitive than others. So you risk, once again, you take an awful risk when you do things that you aren't necessarily outfitted or equipped yet to deal with. There are technology advances, there are skill set advances, there are specialty equipment and gear and things like this that all are stuff that would make these sort of things much, much more conducive to having an encounter. And it's not something I'd want to do on a semi-regular basis. And as like I said, I mentioned before, one of the downsides of having a lower in this case, a lower technological planet is, first off, I don't know that they don't have some sort of nefarious contact with one of these guilds could be exploiting them, other entities could be exploiting them. Have they even encountered off-worlders? If they have, that makes my life a little simpler. If I try to incorporate them by calling them protectorate and officially taking control over it, then I have to deal with planetary growth, and as a house, I'm responsible for supplying their needs, which can be incredibly expensive. So it's not something you want to go down that rabbit hole right away, but there are ways to kind of tap into their production and their needs. There's ways to interact in a kind of a Candlestein way, a sneaky way. I mean, there's ways and there's ways. It comes back down to how you want to approach and how you want to cope with it and how you want to deal with it, etc. So in this case, let's see, I got 4, 8, 12, 16, 26, 32, 36 supplies, so, or already mined materials. So we're going to add some more. Okay, so now we got a little bit more oxygen. I got to change the supplies. So supplies down to 6, fuel down to 10. just like my other money ship. So I still got technically at least 3 more cycles of operations here before it has to go back for resupply. And then there's a 9, so I suspect with the wider range of MR available on this plant, my 100-ton capacity will fill up much faster, and it helps when my rolls get higher too. So let's see, so already 23, 29, 31, 41, 47, 49, so we're getting closer. We're already getting to that range. So there's another 9 tons, so now we're at 11, 40, 47, 56, and 57. 57, so 59, 66. Yeah, definitely going to be, and then 56, or 66, 72. So basically, at the end of the day, we have 62 tons of our 100-ton capacity. So at the end of next cycle, cycle 11, the ship's going to be close enough to 100 tons that if it doesn't fill or exceed 100 tons, I'm just going to have the ship go back to the Fairwind anyway to resupply and to unload, because, and then to pick up my Xeno Scout, Damien Tarot, and his co-conspirator Amber Core, and her co-conspirator, and then drop them off on this planet while the ship's doing its mining to do some exploration. I'd like to know. It says industrial age, so it's circa 1900s or so, depending 1850 or 1950s is what it says here. So potentially atomic. It's not quite atomic age. It's actually an age atomic. So it's on the cusp of atomic age. I'll have to go back and double check this because I don't agree with that number. I think it's more like 1900s, 1800, late 1800s. It matters. Trust me, it matters. The amount of technology that a planet has matters. But it'll give me a round ballpark figure, just how alien they are, or how conducive they are. If they are known genomes, I may be able to uncover some information as to how they got here in the first place. Are they a quote lost colony or something? Do they have prior knowledge in their history books of having been from space? You know, is there any kind of current, overtly known, well-known interaction with space-related stuff? If so, that can open some problem doors, and also open some opportunities. I mean, it's a matter of how we progress and how we check and things like this, and which, you know, oof, it just oof, right? So we look at this and we look at that, and we go for cycle 10. We have some interesting things that have cropped up. Some things I would have preferred to have waited to have to deal with. It just seems to, my luck runs that direction. We now know that there's some other things that need to be flushed out. There's probably 4 or 5 secondary events, if you will, that I need to go through and address. So, coming up for cycle 10, we need to deal with that guild warship and find out more information about it. Our number 2, that cruise liner. Details, warship details. Each one would be a video by itself. It just makes things simpler. Keep them short and sweet as I can. And then let's see, then we have the dealing with the merchant ship that it came in, and seeing what kind of cargo it has for sale, and whatever it's looking for. Unrelated to that, we also have the extra rolls, which brings us this terrorist chart. We have to deal with the terrorist event. Right, and then let's see. Potentially that would lead to potentially Fred Dodge investigating. So I get even more information in which platinums involved. Better not be Red Baron, are you involved in this too? What are you really up to, damn it? What are you doing? You were doing stuff and things. No, right? And then we also want to send, yeah, I might use that my shuttle to send the Xeno Scouts anyway to Swamp Planet. Figure out what's going on there. Plus, we also have to roll out new system and planets found by Camari. So Calamari almost gets its ass handed to it by a Pulsar last cycle, and in this cycle they find me a couple new planets, breathable planets at that. So the interesting scenario is that either these things are in the same elliptical plane in orbit, and they orbit each other, or they're close enough to be some kind of binary system, or because generally that's it doesn't have to play out that way. Because I will just roll random to see if that's true. Otherwise, the Scout came in system in close proximity to planet A and then spotted planet B, which means that there must be either close enough by that the astrogation system caught onto it right away, or it's massive, because it's possible. I mean, geez, that's just what I don't need. The possibility, and this will occur. Eventually, I will find a gas giant, and a gas giant, depending on the type of gas giant, has the possibility for dozens of moons. Just look at Saturn and Jupiter as an example. So the chances are of finding a gas giant with a 20 effing moons around it is quite high. And of those 20, which means I would have to, over time, visit every single one of them to determine what they are. And based on the moon roll charts for moons and stuff, it is about a 5% chance that one of them has a breathable atmosphere. And it's all one of those possible scenarios. I mean, we would explore them into over time anyway, because of the potential for resources that MR. You know, it's just like certain locations within my system. If I'm able to find a way to tap on a regular basis, so I can probably do this on my moon, but I can't do it with the swamp planet, because the swamp planet has an existing population. But I can create a mining operation on the moon and build it there with all that modifier it costs, or if I can acquire the mining package material to produce a mobile mining operation that I can just drop on the surface and exploit via prefabs and things like that, then I could just then get my hands on a cargo shuttle or build a cargo shuttle and then set up a cargo run between the moon and the planet and Fairwind. And at that point, every cycle, the moon produces whatever dice roll it does in mineral resources that gets delivered directly to the exchange, because I already have a dedicated cargo shuttle who's tasked to just move that cargo back and forth and move the mineral resources to the planet and supply the little mining operations needs, whatever food, water, whatever they need would be returned. So I would automatically just plug that into my exchange. I would remove the negative. I would add the negative supplies required for the operation, and then I would add the random rolled resources that get delivered every cycle. See, that's just one of many scenarios and possibilities that can be played out and played through. So anyway, that's cycle 10, and I'm looking forward to doing some more videos on it. Until next time, you guys. Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody else that's in the gaming industry or gaming fandom that says, hey, this is a channel worth checking out, right? Till next time, I hope you guys have your